Now, under the SPA, that's a sale and purchase agreement, Total Energies EP Nigeria will sell 10% of its participating interest and all associated rights and obligations in 15 of the Shell Petroleum Development Company JV licenses to Chapel Energies. But however, Total says that it will retain full economic interest in these licenses. Help us understand how that works.
Okay, you can sell participating interest and still have economic interest. You can actually separate both. Economic interest means that you still make some money from it, even though the obligations and many rights, particularly regulatory obligations and certain rights that relate to doing things with government and connected proprietary rights can move on, but economic rights staying with one party means they still get financial benefit. That's what it means. So you can always separate. So for example, I can have 90% participating interest in something and 10% economic rights. It means I get 10% of the revenues. But the other party just has other things, other 90% of that revenue. So they can retain economic interest while still selling on participating interest. You can always separate both. That's what it means.
Right. But what do you make of this deal?
Okay, yeah, I think well, depends on how you look at it. Some people will say they have concerns. For me, it's both sides. I look at it from two perspectives. The first perspective is that generally many of the IOCs want to concentrate deep offshore. They want to look offshore, deep offshore in particular, and want to sell on their onshore assets. And in some cases, some of those assets have peaked. Many of them are under the what you call the traditional joint ventures, the old traditional joint ventures, and they believe that recovery will become more difficult in terms of oil, and they may have to begin to use secondary recovery mechanisms, and they would rather concentrate on newer fields you'd find deep offshore. Because if you compare the traditional joint ventures, which are largely onshore, they're much, much, much older, and they've been drilling for a long time compared to the deep offshore regime. That's where I see it. Some people would think, some may argue that foreigners are leaving. I don't think it's only one should leave it at that. You'd also consider issues around energy transition. Some people are also making that argument, and portfolio rationalization generally across their assets internationally is another reason why IOCs are selling. So it's a good opportunity, I mean, for others to play in that space, particularly the juniors and independents.